Oh, Andy Lou, welcome to tank season.
It doesn't get any better. Years and years we've been doing this. We're back.
It's time, buddy. Wembanyama season is upon us. It's happening. You see that smile?
Why is Joe Lacob smiling? Look at him. Look at him. Look at him.
Oh, no. Okay. So let's be serious for a second here. So we don't actually know what is going on with Steph's injury, but we got enough of a leak that obviously he's out Monday, and Shams is reporting that they're expecting him to miss a couple weeks. You and I both felt when we saw the injury during the Mavs game, considering the All-Star break is in 9 days, like, he's probably out at least through All-Star, right? And now it's just a waiting game to find out, is he just going to miss those 5 games, and will he be back when the All-Star break ends on the 23rd of February, or is it going to be longer than that?
I feel like we're too good at this. Like, we're too, as Warriors fans, we're too used to playing the guessing game with Steph. We've been doing this his entire career since the first ankle tweak, and now it's like, wait in front of we see the injury, everyone panics. We get a little optimistic because, maybe it's not that bad. Then we wait for the overnight. We wait for the MRI. Then some vague tweet or report comes out from someone.
Dude, they get vaguer. They get vaguer every
time.
Day.
Every time. That initial
I feel like we're just being
was,
trolled.
That initial report was ridiculous. Yeah. This one.
So
read this out.
Yeah, from friend of the show, Tony Slater. Steph Curry will miss tomorrow's game against the Thunder as the Warriors continue to test and determine the extent of his leg injury suffered last night after the Mavericks game. Per sources, official diagnosis timetable could take a couple days to determine. I also want to throw in friend of the show, Dr. Nirav Pandya, saying could be some sort of bone bruise, sometimes additional testing, CT scan to look at the bone in more detail to make sure there's no fracture, and sometimes you need the swelling to go down. On a high level, it makes sense to me. If he has swelling in that area, they can't really determine what's going on there. I do like the fact that it appears that it's not the knee, but I'm not even sure we know that to be true.
Yeah, it's so it's just a bunch of words that, and I don't think he's not doing this on purpose, but it's just a bunch of words where we just don't know what's going on. I feel like we're getting a little more specific each time. I know CJ Holmes just tweeted that I guess he's saying that Steph avoided serious structural damage in his lower left knee, but pain tolerance, pain subsiding, stuff like that. Like, we just don't know. At least a couple weeks. It's what it says now, Sam. So I guess the Warriors are lucky that the All-Star break is coming up, but beyond that, this is really rough news. I just feel like we're so used to this stuff that we're numb to it. And then this season as a whole, when that injury came out, when he got hurt last night, it felt like that's how the season was always going to go. Just they can't get anything going. They were up by 20 last night, and it felt like maybe something was changing because they have everyone healthy now, and then boom, this happens.
So let's take it back. The positive side is this. They only have 5 games until the All-Star break, and then they go 9 days without playing a game. So if we were to assume Steph is out at least through the All-Star break, that's 18 days. So if they think he's going to miss a couple-ish weeks, he could conceivably be back right at the start of the All-Star game, only missing 5 games. Based on the way they're wording it, I kind of think it'll be longer than that. But any way you slice it, they are getting a 9-day break where there's no games. So what could have been 10 to 12 games may only end up being 6 or 7 games just because of the nature of when it happened around the All-Star break. So I'm tempted to say this doesn't tank the season just yet, but it does bring in a lot of complications with the trade deadline coming on Thursday. And if they're not sure how bad it is today, I'm not sure they're going to make a move until they feel pretty confident they know Steph will be back March 1st or something like that, because the difference between him coming back March 1st and April 1st is literally the difference between going for it and just throwing in the season.
100%. I mean, if it's April 1st, call it, right? Go get Wemby, like you said. Just go lose out the rest of the games. Go get Wiseman minutes. Go get Moody minutes. What's kind of the point of this this stretch here? It is highly hilarious that after this season of back and forth with Joe Lacob and Steve Kerr kind of fighting over which timeline matters, that it feels like it's going to come down to the wire on Thursday. If we find out, like you said, that Steph is going to be out for 6 weeks, call it. There's no point. But if Steph is going to be fine and not going to be out,
maybe it's just 3 weeks. Yeah,
2.5. Yes, 2.5, 3 weeks. Then do you go try to get Jared Vanderbilt?
You're right in the thick of it. Like, I feel pretty confident, at least the 5 games they have before the All-Star break, they can hold court and keep themselves in this same, middle of the West malaise where they're like 1 game out of the 4 and 1 game out of the 11 at the same time, Like, we know this team can win games with Jordan Poole, particularly at home. They did it once before. They have OKC on Monday night. They're going to Portland. Then they got the Wizards coming to town.
I mean, it could be 3 wins. It could be 3 right there.
They got the Lakers coming to town. Clippers on a back-to-back feels tough, but who knows? The Clippers also sit everyone all the time, so they might not play anyone either.
TNT game, by the way, peak NBA. Peak NBA.
My point is, I could easily see them going 3-2, going into the All-Star break and being in that 4, 5, 6 range, with Steph maybe being back right afterwards. It's not tragic just yet, And
you know what they're going to be going into All-Star break.
Exactly 500.
Yeah, exactly 500. 2 and 3, they're going to be exactly 500 going to All-Star break. Maybe like the 8 seed, something like that, and then we're going
to win against the Thunder. Gonna lose in Portland in a really annoying fashion. Like, they can't just lose. It's got to be some like turnover off the foot with 1:30 left, losing them the game type of thing, because that's how the season's going. Then they're gonna win against the Lakers on Saturday night out of nowhere with Clay getting 40. Then they're gonna lose to the Wizards at home.
Yes, of course, and then bench everyone against LA. You might have just mapped out what's gonna happen in the next 5 games. You know why you just mapped it out? Because we've watched it. We've seen it.
They have been consistently inconsistent all year. That's the best way to describe the Warriors this year. They win a game, they make you believe, and then they lose a disgusting one where you're just like, what is happening? It is what it is. But let's get back on Steph here. By the way, we got Jake Fischer, Yahoo Sports senior NBA reporter, coming on to talk trade deadline. Just getting a lot more interesting with the Steph news in a few minutes. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of interesting, the diagnosis here. CJ is the first person I've seen who's mentioned the knee. Slater said multiple times lower leg, not mentioning the knee. He's just relaying the way it's being said to him.
Correct.
Avoiding serious structural damage. So, like, when we watched the collision, we were watching it on playback. By the way, you guys should watch on playback with us. First thought everyone had was MCL, right? Just because the way it bended. And it looks like it's not that. He did have a contusion on his lower leg in general, so he got hit in that general area. So, like, I don't know. I don't want to play the medical guessing game, but
it's doesn't seem like it is, but at the same time, if he's out for a couple weeks, that's the same timeline as an MCL. So it's like, outside of just not being a doctor, it's just from a timeline perspective, feels like the same thing. What's the difference? KD has an MCL, out for 6. By the way, different stuff. Oh my God. You talk about the Warriors trying to survive without Steph the next 2 to 3 weeks. The Brooklyn Nets are trying to survive a KD injury. I felt like that's like the worst possible case scenario. The Warriors aren't going to get that bad. But yeah, I just, it says at least a couple weeks from CJ there. You just threw the tweet up on YouTube. At least a couple weeks. Like, is that 3? Nobody said a month, so like we're just trying to decipher kind of like sentences to figure out if it's a month or not. Because yeah, if that is, then it's over, right? But with Steph, I want to throw this out there before Jay comes on. That leg was the same leg that he hurt in Denver during a kick out, and regardless if you're a doctor, I don't think we'll ever know if that was an issue, if that was kind of the reason why this then get hurt. I just feel like this season has required guys like Steph and Draymond, who's also hurt, by the way, to play so hard, to go so hard every single night, and then try to give it a go on a back-to-back in Denver. does not help you when you are trying to stay healthy. Steph would have gotten hurt anyway at some point this season because he does every season, but it just feels like that. Just playing on a back-to-back at the end of the season like this, trying to force yourself back to 500. This is what happens. It feels like, Sam. Like, this is what happens when you have to play that hard in your mid-30s. This is what happens. You get hurt.
Indeed. It just feels like a snake bit season in many ways. I was getting all hyped about the trade deadline. I don't even know what to think anymore, given the new Steph Curry news. This feels like an appropriate time to bring on our special guest this week.
Yes, sir.
Senior NBA reporter from Yahoo Sports, Jake Fischer. Jake, how you doing, man?
What's going on, guys? I got back from a yoga class to hear the Steph Curry news myself. So I also am not perfectly certain how to proceed with this show, but I'm happy to be here. Happy to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
The Warriors aren't certain how to proceed with their franchise too. So no worries.
Now before you were coming on, I was going to ask you, like, so what are the chances the Warriors could trade for KD? Now I feel like it should be like, what are the chances the Nets could trade for Steph? The other way around. It does feel like the entire trade deadline is being held hostage by the Nets right now. Is that accurate?
Yeah, actually, a couple people have said to me today, and I try not to I try to have as much of a weekend as I can. So like, I'm not.
Good luck this time of year.
No chance.
Yeah, I'm not like calling people. Like, I'll take a call, but I'm shooting some texts. And a couple people said to me, like, man, there's nothing out there today besides Kyrie stuff, and there's a ton of Kyrie stuff flying around. I just got one text about a non-Kyrie thing, but that's kind of definitely the major thing looming over the market right now, just being that Phoenix could do certain different things, right? Obviously, Jay Crowder's been a domino looming out there. The Lakers have stuff to do, and Dallas is certainly a team that could go in various directions and are looking to make some type of move. So any activity involving those suitors right now is going to get held up. The Clippers, there's like some people on the league think the Clippers is like a smokescreen. They're not actually involved. I don't think that's the case. I have not heard that they're not. That's like a fake thing. But yeah, for now, it's Kyrie's going to take over a lot of oxygen here.
As he tends to do. So is it going to be one of those things where, like, until that's determined, all these other dominoes are unlikely to fall? Like, everyone's kind of waiting to see if he gets moved, and then we'll see the Jared Vanderbilts, the Jay Crowders of the world. Like, those are kind of the type of players I was thinking the Warriors could be in the market for. They're obviously not in the market for Kyrie Irving. Is that probably how it's going to play out?
Some stuff definitely will get held up, but remember, Kevin Durant requested a trade like an hour and a half before free agency started.
True.
On June 30th, and like a bunch of shit still happened. So like, I don't think we're gonna have like a total logjam. Like, there'll be some deals done. I think. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head that's gonna be. I mean, something.
Moby, maybe that seems like a big one.
I mean, that
maybe
one
not.
could be something that. Look, like, if the Lakers end up being, I mean, it does. I think honestly, no matter what package the Nets end up taking for Kyrie, which, look, as of Friday, people in Brooklyn were saying we don't have to move this guy. Like,
that's what I was going to ask. Would they actually do it?
I mean, I still think that's a thing. I still think there's a chance they don't, and just call his bluff and say, because, like, look, if they don't move Kyrie and he comes back and KD gets healthy and they win the title, like, it'd all be worth it. It really, for them, it really would. But
why couldn't they? It's always worth it. Why couldn't they win the title too? Why couldn't they? If
before KD got hurt, they were the 2 seed in the East. So
I guess he's saying he'd sit out though. I mean, how do you know anything?
But like, is that so right now? And I know our Warriors pod quickly became a Kyrie pod, but like, I haven't heard a single team is willing to give Kyrie the 4-year maximum contract that he wants. Every team I've talked to has been like, oh, not sure I'd want to lock in long term to that guy. Does him sitting out ease any of those concerns? Does that help his path of getting a 4-year deal? I don't think so. So, but what I was going to say about Toronto and OG was that, like, I do think Brooklyn's going to be trying to take back whatever they can get for Kyrie, because I do at this point, like on Sunday at 2:15 Eastern time, I'm leaning towards they do move Kyrie. There just seems to be a lot of momentum there and things they could get back. That also to bring this point to a close, I'm expecting Brooklyn's going to look far and wide to reroute pieces or whatever they do get back to try to, and like Toronto would have to be a team that they call. Like if we're looking at the board of pieces that are available, if there's things that Brooklyn gets back, like if it's Russell Westbrook and 2 first, or fill in the blank, like if they get a couple picks that they want to, I mean, the time is now. Kevin Durant on the roster, let's go get this title. I mean, you got to call Toronto and see if you have the pieces to go get OG. So I would think Toronto is going to be a team that also, regardless of Brooklyn, waits till the final minute anyway. But I'm trying to think off the top of my head of deals that won't get affected by this, and I'm struggling. But like, if Bojan Bogdanovic, if some team comes in and gives the Pistons that unprotected pick and like something a little bit juicier, in addition that like they want, like that could get done. That could really happen without Kyrie. So yeah, that's the first thing that comes to mind. A John Collins trade, in theory, like if there's a deal that gets Atlanta, they think it's enough value back. I don't think that's going to get held up by Kyrie.
Let's no, that makes sense. Those are both players I would expect the Warriors to have nearly zero interest in, given just like the cap situation that they're in.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you this because it's not just you. It's basically every national reporter who kind of discusses potential transactions in the trade deadline. You never really hear the Warriors' name mentioned. Noticeably this season, and I assume some of that's posturing, but like, are they just not active in the trade deadline? Let's put the Steph news aside because like in 48 hours, their position could completely change. I'm talking about leading up to this, like over the last week.
Yeah. So they have not come up for like this. The Warriors are chasing X, Y, and Z too often. The consistent thing I've heard, which is not going to get Dubs fans excited, is the JaMychal Green idea of like moving off him to be able to turn Anthony Lamb into a standard contract. That's been the loudest thing I've heard about Golden State consistently. Yeah. There's been growing talk of them being willing to like look down the bench at these young guys who are not playing and think about moving them. But does seem to be a sense that like this team won the title a year ago. That the starting lineup, with Looney that Kerr was talking about, I believe last night, right? I think I saw about that on Twitter, being the top ranked or the second ranked lineup in the league. Like there are teams that a lot of people look at and say they're more likely to do something in the offseason. That's Golden State falls into that bucket too.
What does that mean? Doing something in that like a bigger move in the offseason, you would assume? Yeah.
Correct. I mean, a lot of stuff that takes place right now, and this is why, like, the way I approach the Intel game, like, I'm trying to find out everything I can right now, because even if it doesn't happen, like, it's going to set the table for this summer. I mean, the Jeremy Grant trade to Portland, for example, like, Portland was trying to acquire him this time last year. I mean, the Monty Morris deal to the Wizards, I had Calvin Booth on the record for a profile saying that that was a deal they talked about with Washington the deadline before. So a lot of this stuff is kind of like laying seeds for a nice plant to emerge from the dirt come June 30th.
I'm smiling because you're telling me that the Warriors and Kevin are talking right now because they know that he's gone. KD's gone. Come on, he's not.
Kyrie just took a blowtorch to Brooklyn.
Come on. I mean, if the Warriors, if we're going to assume the Warriors aren't going to make, there's no Alex Caruso move on the horizon. There's no Jared Vanderbilt move. There's no Kelly Olynyk move on the horizon in the next 4 days. Then, you know what Joe loves to do. He's going to want to make the big splash, and, it's like a re-splash. It's like the same. It's the splash.
A re-splash.
It's, the splash has been done already, and
the re-splash brothers.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's we'll all go to group therapy together and get over, the breakup. Yeah. No, it does. I mean, the reality of the Warriors is with Jordan Poole's contract next year, like, unless they're willing to like absolutely set like a blowtorch to the luxury tax and pay like, I think over 500 mil or something would be if they kept the roster. Like it's unlike they're going to have to move off someone, could be Draymond, could be Wiseman, could be Poole, could be a combination of people. So it's like, I understand why the summer is more of a thing for them. But yeah, is there anyone they've been linked to at the trade deadline at all that you could see them trying to make a move on? Because you could also make a case if the Steph injury is not that serious and it is really more of kind of like right after the All-Star break. The West is right there. Like a rotation piece could be all that they need to solidify their rotation to kind of go into the playoffs.
And to be clear, like now I'm playing the role of asking the questions. You guys want more of like a front court type of guy. You're not necessarily looking for an Alex Caruso. You want someone who can add to your artillery in the front court.
Perfect situation would be like a big wing. Honestly,
Yeah.
you know, like an OG Anunoby would be like the perfect player. Like they're again, that's not just like a little move, but like even like a Jared Vanderbilt, someone who plays that position because they have a lot of guards, you know.
Yeah, a younger, less bad intel Jay Crowder, if you will. Oh. Yeah, no, I think, I mean, that's the type of guy that people say Golden State has called around on, but like. Mm-hmm. And we're at the point now where on Monday, we'll definitely start to hear more of like actual things. I mean, this has been the year of all the years I've covered the league. And this is probably only really like the third trade deadline I've like truly covered on like a professional basis. Like that's my job. Like when I was at Sports Illustrated, I would talk to my friends around the league, just kind of like wanting to know what was going on, but like chase this stuff down. So my context is only 3 years long, truly, but like by comparison from what everyone's telling me, this has been so bizarre to me and to a lot of other folks about how long teams have been willing to clutch their pearls and not show their hand or not really like make an aggressive
wait until the last minute, basically.
Exactly. So we could start to hear more names, and it's more just like there's been like, oh, we'd be interested in this type of player. We're looking for this. So I've only really heard that type, that type of like a Jonathan Kuminga, someone who can move Kuminga down the rotation type of piece is kind of like the idea.
A player who's not 20 playing that role,
basically. Exactly. But I haven't heard any specific names. No, the only thing I can say, like for sure, is been that Michael Green intel. Like people have talked about Wiseman. There's been like an idea that Toronto would be interested in taking him back and having him be kind of like a reclamation project. But like, I mean, I don't think in the bidding war that they're trying to draw up for OG, like I'm not so certain that he's going to be like the apple of Toronto's eye. But I don't know, maybe they really, I mean, they've been so linked to like having an idea of trying to get a center and an actual rim protector for so long now. It's been like 2 years that Toronto's kind of flirted with that idea. Maybe they want to give a shot to a former number 2 pick, but I'd be surprised if he's like the goal for them when it comes to moving OG Anunoby.
If the Warriors threw Kuminga, and they would never, but if they threw Kuminga in that package because Masai Ujiri loves it, feels like that would get something done, and then some picks, obviously. But the Warriors are
that's a very different story. And Kuminga, he's still so far from what Golden State wants him to be, so far, but he just shows these tantalizing glimpses, right? People. I mean, every opposing coach I talk to that like has played Golden State in the last week or so says to me, wow, Jonathan Kuminga is going to be really good one day. But like, that's the problem. The one day is not now. And obviously you guys are trying to compete for a 5th championship in however many years. And that, I mean, the time is now.
Well, we'll see what the Steph news is. Maybe pivoting to next year for all we know. I mean, it is going to be kind of determined by whatever the additional scans that he gets over the next couple of days say. Like, yeah, I could say very confidently if they're ruling him out for like 6+ weeks, they're probably not going to be in the business of making some sort of splashy move. But if they think he's back in 3 weeks, that's nothing. That's like 6 games in the context of the All-Star break.
I mean, as much as you made the apt but funny comment that like Joe Lacob, if he's going to make a move in the offseason, it's going to be a huge move. They're also such a pragmatic, risk-averse franchise at the same time, too. I mean, they have not traditionally, anyone listening to this knows, they have not traditionally made absolute massive moves at the deadline. The D'Lo, Andrew Wiggins thing is probably the only thing that really stands out in this tenure of some type of seismic shift. And like that was a that was a home run deal. There were people in Minnesota who were banging on the table saying, "Do not do this trade," and they still got the deal done. So, I mean, outside of that type of deal, like a clear victory to move this team's ceiling higher, and again, all this is depending on Steph's knee, like you just said. I'd be surprised if we see them do something that's really altering to the upward trajectory of this team.
Nothing is, and they can't move guys like Wiggins, which you shouldn't anyway. All right, last one for me is I'm back to KD. I'm back to my guy. All right, how realistic is that that's going to be something? That's not a trade deadline thing, but off season, if Kyrie's gone, is he asking out?
So look, he could decide to the way this Nets era has gone and the way Kevin Durant has conducted his business. He could request a trade on Monday, rescind the trade request on Tuesday, request it again on Wednesday, and rescind it on Thursday. Like anything can happen.
Didn't that happen last summer?
But I will say this. I was told pretty strongly that sure, while rival teams are definitely looking at this, and you have to be. I mean, thinking about this from a realistic standpoint, there's just no guarantee that Kevin Durant is going to wake up on July 1 and be lockstep. I want to be a Brooklyn Net. Like, it could happen, but there's no way to guarantee it right now. So, of course, teams are going to be floating around the periphery and waiting for that to happen. But it seems pretty clear that the Nets are operating with this Kyrie trade situation as if Kevin Durant is going to be healthy post trade deadline, healthy post All-Star break, and whatever pieces they get back for Kyrie need to either make them better or as good as they are now to try to win a championship with this guy. And honestly, I can't fault them for that because that was their behavior when Durant requested a trade, and he ended up coming back, and they've been positioned to be a contender whenever he's been healthy. So I don't think this is like a guarantee these guys are going to be walking out just as they came in together. I think there's a real opportunity here for Brooklyn to get creative if they can. But it's all going to take, it's all going to really come down to also Kyrie's willingness to sign whatever type of contract the team that he is being traded for, or traded to is willing to offer him. That's kind of going to be the massive undercurrent of all this.
I have one more question, then we'll let you go. We appreciate your time. We didn't talk about the one thing that is Warriors related that has actually been in the news. Bob Myers.
Mm-hmm.
What do you know about that whole situation? Because it just feels like that's the undercurrent. Like as if they aren't pragmatic enough, you have a quote unquote lame duck GM, right? Like, and it seems like it's more he doesn't know if he wants to stay, but what do you know about the whole Bob Myers situation?
Yeah, I know that people around the league want to know what's going to happen, and he's a name. He's a name that definitely gets mentioned anywhere there could be another theoretical opening. And the Clippers are probably the loudest, speculated destination for him. Obviously, the Jerry West connection has been fruitful in the past, and there has been kind of, I think, like a low burner hot seat type of idea around the Clippers front office dating back to the conference finals run they made against the Suns in 21, where look, this has been a win now team for LA that at that point hadn't gotten to even the conference finals yet, and then they did. There was clearly a thought, just like on the other end of that aisle, where if Mike Budenholzer hadn't won the championship, he would have been fired. There was definitely some smoke out there that the Clippers front office would have potentially, gotten the axe as well. So who's to say if they fall short again this year, like that at least is an idea out there in the ether. But to bring it back to Golden State, there's also just such an infrastructure there. Clearly Bob Myers is the neck that turns all the heads in Golden State, right? And he's been such a backbone from top to bottom for being, I wanted to write a story at the beginning of the season about how in championship culture, there's this idea of a brain drain of stealing coach. Mike Brown goes to Sacramento, Travis Schlenk once upon a time gets hired for Atlanta. But the idea of a culture being kind of brain drained and taking ideas that are really at the center of what Bob Myers is and does and how he conducts himself, of just being kind of a high EQ person, that will not be replicable by any stretch, but the Warriors had this massive nucleus from Mike Dunleavy to both Lake Sons to, fill in the blank of so many people in that front office that are also like, I'm not just blowing smoke up all those guys, but like very respected around the league. I'm not so certain it's like gonna dramatically change how business is conducted. And that also might be why I think that is a factor why it's such a slow burn to come to the conclusion. And that if he's not there, I think everyone will be ready to move along and move one rung up the ladder. And if he is there, then they're going to keep winning and being as successful as they have been. Like, I think that's kind of the idea on the ground.
Yeah, I just can't see them if Bob decided to leave for whatever reason, personal, another job, Ballmer throws him 50 million a year, something like that. It doesn't feel like they'll go outside the organization, right? Like it does feel like just promote from within and keep the infrastructure the way it is type of thing, right?
Yeah, I think so. And who that, figurehead would be seems a little undetermined. I don't want to, speculate even.
Sure.
I mean, I have names I could say, but in knowing the aggregatable times that we live in,
the two, like that's what everybody would assume.
I think he named the three potential names.
Joe himself is just going to take over coaching too and GMing. Like that wouldn't be surprising. Surprised.
No, Raymond Ritter will be the GM of the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, you can get a text any minute now saying, "Don't say it. Don't say it out loud."
Yeah.
Jake,
we appreciate you. You got anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
Guys. My book's over my shoulder, Built to Lose, How the NBA is Taking Era, Change the League Forever. Read my stuff at Yahoo. And we've got 2 shows next week on the Call-In app. I'll probably do one on Tuesday by myself, just taking questions. And then we'll do like a recap thing on Friday, or maybe like a 4:00 afternoon post-deadline kind of wind it on down, break down what happened type of stuff.
Sounds good. Sounds like it's going to be an insane week. All right, Jake. Appreciate you, man.
That was great. That was awesome. Well, not awesome, but he's awesome.
Well, yeah. We'll see how the deadline shakes out. I just feel like, the injury with the backdrop, just more balls in the air doesn't make me super optimistic that didn't I text you like on Friday or Saturday being like, feeling cautiously optimistic the Warriors will get what they need at the deadline, and then everything breaks the way it does.
If it's one thing about the Warriors, though, that how long have we done this show? 8 years? 9 years now?
Too long. We're washed.
They're entertaining, If it's one thing that the Warriors are, they are entertaining, and I ultimately think we're going to get – it feels like the Warriors are like somewhat optimistic about Steph. It doesn't feel like a 6-week injury. It doesn't, because I think if that were the case, if they were like preparing for a 2-month injury, feel like they would have told, like maybe not reported it. Felt like Sam would have found out. You know what I mean?
Because it doesn't appear like they can pinpoint the nature. Like it's not like a grade 2 or grade 3 like
grade
MCL.
2 6 weeks, yeah. Grade 2.
Yeah, where it's just because like they kind of know that immediately. This is like there's something there. There's some swelling. We can't really put our finger on it. Yeah. Could be bad, but it doesn't, usually the ones that have those like clear 6 to 8 week diagnoses, like it gets out pretty quick, right? Yep. We knew KD's MCL situation within a few hours, right?
Also with Steph and the Warriors org, if it's something that they're scared about, we hear it pretty quickly. Like it's like, oh my God, people aren't talking or people are concerned. It's just,
the press conference gets set up. Bob gets ready to take to the podium. He sounds like he's been crying. Yeah.
Like all that stuff. But again, like you said, we'll find out. But Jake had an interesting point saying that he doesn't think there was ever going to be anything anyway. Like now things could change in the last day or two, but like he was almost laughing when he said that the only thing he'd heard about the Warriors is the JaMychal Green move and converting Anthony Lamb to be in his position, which is also hilarious because JaMychal Green's playing better, which I think is so funny.
Right now I think they're just going to convert Lamb to the open spot if they do nothing.
Well, I think like what was the Green move then? Why would they? So what was the point of that? Is that just to save money? You know what I mean? It's just like. It's kind of a mess. Honestly, it's kind of a mess, that whole thing. And if that's the thing that's going to happen, then it feels like Lacob's kind of saying, just figure it out. I'm done with you guys until the offseason, until Durant asks out. This is it. So I don't know.
Till Jordan Poole's money hits and I can do some fun stuff.
Right.
You want to play a couple voicemails before we get out of here?
Let's do it. From the Goons.
This one, this voicemail's from right after the Nuggets game on Thursday night, just for context. But it's worth playing.
Yo, guys, what's up? I'm a student at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. That's in Eastern time, mind you. I stayed up until 11:40 watching this absolute monstrosity of a game where the only player that played that was in the positive on the plus minus was James Wiseman. I missed a homework assignment because of it, and I think because of that, Lacob should pay maybe a semester of tuition. I don't know. All I know is Moody sucks. Jamaica Green sucks. Kuminga's really good. Kuminga's going to be good. But honestly, beyond that, everyone's expendable. Also, play PBJ instead of Lamb. I like seeing Lamb in street clothes. That was probably the best thing that happened today, was seeing him dressed in street clothes. Either way, thanks, guys. Take it easy. I'm going to try and...
Staying up till 1 a.m. watching some of these Warriors games and not submitting your homework. I cannot condone this behavior.
This is my type of guy. I know you. My type of guy right here. Yeah, but do your homework. Do your homework.
I thought we were going to see Baldwin against the Mavs, but not really. So I would like to see him get a little more rotation burn.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like that's coming, especially with Jamaica Green playing better. Doesn't feel like that's coming.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they play the same position, but I hear you.
Everybody plays the same position on the Warriors as a big. They're the 5.
That's true. That's
Small
true.
ball 5.
That's true.
Small ball 5.
Are you a point guard? No, you're a 5. Okay.
Kuminga's gonna play the 5 one day. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes,
he's gonna be the 5.
All right, next one. This one's from Friday.
So, hey guys, I was gonna talk about just how stupid the 2 timelines thing is, but then I just saw the Kyrie news, and frankly, I'm in a good mood now. Oh my God, what is going on in Brooklyn, and how can we use that to our advantage? Because we do need to pick somebody up at the deadline. Look, the bottom line is Moody, Wiseman, these guys, they're not NBA players, and I do not understand the frustration that circulates them, why they're a special case. The second timeline is set up. It is Wiggins, it is Poole, it is Kuminga, it is PBJ. That's where you start. Trade these other 2 kids, give them a chance elsewhere. I don't care if it's Thibault, I don't care if it's Caruso, though I prefer Caruso. You know, my guy Olenek is probably the best get we can get, and it's 42% three-point shot at 6'11". They got to do something, and whatever happens with Brooklyn and Kyrie and how that shakes up the entire NBA, I think they got to take advantage of it, especially if one of the young teams gets OG, because that's going to be pretty impossible if a Memphis or an Ola gets arguably the best young defender in the league. That's not good news for anyone, and especially us. That's a step stopper right there. So yeah, guys, I just want to hear the pod about the Kyrie stuff. I'll see you. I'll listen to you guys soon.
I'm gonna be honest. I feel like the Kyrie stuff would be way more fun for us if we weren't dealing with this Steph situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we were having fun texting about it before the Steph stuff happened, but obviously that kind of puts a bummer on my mood.
I think the only thing about the Kyrie stuff that I think it affects the Warriors is the KD. It's the KD move. In all seriousness, that's the one. And Dwight kind of points it out in the comments there. There's only one move. Everything for KD. I mean, that's what it means. If Kyrie wants out, then he's going to get traded. It sounds like we just had Jake Fischer on, who sounded like that's going to be the move. Then they're going to try to reroute stuff from that trade to someone, but I doubt that they're going to get someone like OG or somebody that truly impacts the game like Kyrie does in the postseason. And then if that's the case, Kyrie's going to look down the line and say, well, what am I still doing here for the next 3 years? And Brooklyn's probably going to say, all right, well, why don't we just get pieces back and we can start a rebuild? And if all that aligns, then what are the Warriors? Then there's really, like, what are the Warriors going to do if that's the case? That's an obvious option if KD wants to come back.
No Cap in the comments is kind of summing it up pretty well right now, which is it's hilarious to see people kind of feel sorry for KD here. You left the most stable organization for Kyrie Irving. Can we just call Kyrie what he is now? He was on a contender in Cleveland, demanded out, went to a contender in Boston, who went to the finals after he left and burnt that place to the ground. And I mean, in Brooklyn, has he even played half the games since he's been there? It's just like there's expressions for it. It's just kind of like, sometimes you just are what you are. Very talented player. A little crazy.
And I think with KD, it's similar to LeBron. And I think a lot of this is really with some of the NBA players nowadays too. It's the meme where, you're trying to figure out who's the guy that did this. Look in the mirror, man. You know what I mean? Like with LeBron, it's every week. It's, we need to make a move. Don't take him for granted. Blah, blah, blah. Dude, you're the one that signed the extension to stay in LA. You're the one that went to LA. You're the one that traded for Russell Westbrook. Same thing in Cleveland. Same thing in Miami. And you're bitching and moaning nonstop. Dude, you're the one that's making these decisions and forcing other people to make these decisions. Same with Kevin Durant. You're the one that left OKC to go to the Warriors after they went to the NBA Finals. Can't be surprised when people are mad at you. You're the one that left the Warriors with Steph Curry to go play with Kyrie Irving when everyone knew he's a head case. Whose fault is that? Why is it that we have to feel bad for these guys when they're grown men, grown adults making their own decisions? You're 30. You're 30. It's your fault.
Yeah, it's like kids. That. It's like the meme where you shoot the guy and it's like, who shot him?
Yeah,
exactly. That one.
What are we doing here? What are we doing? We're treating them like they're kids, man.
This is one of my favorite tweets from our guy Daman. It's from a couple of years ago, but it still rings true.
That's quick.
KD left a stable job at a big company to join a startup with his college stoner buddy. As two men who work in the Bay Area and are familiar with startups, this hits.
This one hits. This one definitely hits. And the big part is with this stuff, because you leave his job to go to startup all the time. But with the crazy friend, you know what I mean? Like with the crazy, like, what are you doing here? What are you doing? And the craziest part, I think the funniest part of all this is the Warriors actually just end up, and we're mad about the Warriors sometimes about where they're headed, but the Warriors got a championship out of it, Sam. Like Stuff's at 4. The Warriors
won
4. Yeah, they won.
They won.
It wasn't close.
They might not be winning right now, but they won.
500. Actually, no, the Warriors are 1 over, so they're still winning. Yeah. Funny thing is Brooklyn's actually well over 500, and Jake was saying they were the 2 seed before he got hurt. Hilarious.
I want to say I was saying it to you on this exact pod a couple weeks ago. Like, I kind of feel like the Nets are the favorite, but there's a lot of time left in the season for Kyrie to do something.
Boom.
Lo and behold, what happens?
He never lets us down.
It's like, if he stays on the Nets past the deadline, something's coming April, maybe May 1st.
Well, he said he's not going to play. He said he's not going to play. How crazy is that? He's going to sit out. And KD's okay with that.
KD's radio silence, which lets you know he's pissed.
Okay.
As he should be.
Okay.
We got one last voicemail. This was from last night's game, Mavs game.
You got to show the Moraga one too.
It's MA from NJ. Personally, totally worried about Steph. Hopefully the MRI doesn't show anything. But my hot take or question for you guys is, how in the actual fuck does Andrew Wiggins play an entire game and get 0 rebounds? 0?
Oh boy.
Thanks. Appreciate you guys.
That's it.
Oh, you know what? I didn't realize that Wiggins had 0 rebounds last night, but it ties into the consistent theme since he's come back from his injury. He's been bad, man.
Yeah, he has.
And 9 points, 0 rebounds, 1 assist, only took 6 shots. I mean, he's floating out there. I don't know how else to put it. And I don't know what's up, but he doesn't look right. Like, considering what we've seen him do in the past, I'm more interested in knowing what is holding him back, because it feels like it's a physical thing.
You think so? That's not good.
I mean, he just seems off. I don't know how else to put it. Like, if he was in Minnesota, I'd just be like, that's who he is. He's not that guy. But we've already seen him with the Warriors be a more locked in, like reliable player that I don't think this is anything mental. It's something seems off.
Let's see. I'm willing to wait another week or two because now it's because he came back and he was rusty and then he had to play with a 3-guard lineup. I think all that is rough for him. The 0 rebound stuff.
That's a good point.
We've seen the 0 rebound stuff in the regular season. That's just not locking in. But now, here's dude like Wiggins and Poole. Like we from the comments here from Latasha, like JP and Wiggins got to step it up. Now's the time because if they're gonna go 2-3, 3-2, if they're gonna stay afloat here, those are the two guys that have to play better. Clay, we know we're gonna get the infuriating shot selection, but he's also gonna make huge shots. Draymond, if he's healthy, he's gonna give them huge effort, right, and defense, but Jordan Poole and Wiggins, man, those are the guys that need to step it up. And I talk about Poole all the time. So it's Wiggins now. Like 0 rebounds, you just said. Is it injury? If it's injury, then the season's cooked anyway. If it's not injury, we need Wiggins from the beginning of the season to come back.
Yeah, and I think it will. Like it's weird because he just seems off to me, you know. And it might just be he needs to lock in now. It's stuff's out. I got to do a little more.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, let's end it there. We'll be back, guys. Appreciate everyone.
All right, guys.